What's up, God's people? This is Tahra-Lynn with Abbas Kingdom, and I am coming on today with a dream that the Lord has given me to release to you guys. Now, with every dream, all of us are in different seasons. You take this back to the Lord and see if this is for you. This may be for you. This may not be for you. So that is between you and the Lord. As always stated, well, not always, but when I remember. So just want to let you know, take this back to God and see if this is for you. So I'm going to get into this dream. So I was walking and I had a police officer uniform on. I seen all these police officers with the same uniform on. I looked at my pants and saw stripes on the side of my pants, like going down the side of my leg. And I wondered to myself, why do I have this uniform on? I seen this big group of military police, and they were all marching like an army. They were all marching together like an army. They all had the same uniform on. And I noticed a tie I was wearing. It was part of my uniform. It was like going around my neck. I turned the tie over and it said Army. And I wasn't understanding, like, why do I have this uniform on? And so I kept saying to myself, I looked at the patch on my arm and it said Union Township. Now, I live in New Jersey and there is a Union Township in New Jersey. And again, I'm thinking, why do I have this uniform on? I saw this group in the street and they were marching. They were doing like all the military moves that the military does. They turned like a pivot together. They stood a certain way and they marched together. Then I seen two officers standing together. It was like a guy and a girl, and they were talking. And that was the end of the dream. Now, I've never been in the military, but my daughter, she was in the Army for about 8 years. So I've been around that military life with dealing with her. So I see all the soldiers, how they're together and they march and they speak together and, they pivot together. So I've been around the military, like dealing with her. So that's how I knew it was an army. So I'm going to get into this dream because this is what the Lord is saying. He's saying there has been a change in authority and many positions have changed. Many of you have been walking and doing what the Lord has instructed you to do, and you may have not realized it yet, but power, authority, and influence has changed. Now, if you notice in the dream, I kept saying, why do I have this uniform on? Why do I have this uniform on? It's like many of you guys. You don't know that your authority has changed. You don't know that your power, that the power that God has given you and the influence that God has given you, that it has changed. Just like me not realizing, why do I have this uniform on? I kept asking myself that all throughout the dream, because many of you, your garments have changed, but you just have not realized it, and you're not operating in it because you don't know the power, the authority, and the influence that God has given you. Now, a policeman or policewoman, this is what they do. They arrest, they apprehend, they stop crimes in their assigned territory, state, or township. The Lord has given you new territory, new state, new authority, and new mantles. Authority, the definition is power to influence or command. Now, the biblical authority is rooted in the total control of God and is designed for blessing and protection of his people. It's not to make man look good, but it's to help and edify the people. It's given to his people to carry out his will and promote order, justice, and well-being. He didn't give us authority to show off. It's for his will and his purpose. Now, an army is a large organized body of armed personnel trained for war, but they're trained for war especially on land because there's different branches of the military. The patch on my arm, it was Union, New Jersey. And when I sat with him about Union, New Jersey, this is what he gave me. It's for unification, bringing people together, standing in the gap, like a union officer or a union rep, like at a job. It it oh, he said it's being united, and it's being something that's separated, but you make it into a whole. So you bringing it into a union. And also the territory was the state of New Jersey. The territory is the state of your authority, where he's given you that authority at. Now, my prayer partner and I, we were talking on the phone one day, and she told me, she said, you got a marriage ministry. And when she said that, I quickly said right behind her, I said, girl, I ain't got no marriage ministry. I ain't even married. What sense does that make? And that's what I said to her. Because when she said it to me, I just responded from my flesh. Like, what are you talking about? I've never been married. How am I going to have a marriage ministry? But this is why you need to sit with God, even when you hear a word. Now, because my prayer partner, she's prophetic. And she'll say some things and I have to go back and say, yeah, I know you said this, but yeah, I was wrong. So when God gave me this dream, I texted her. I said, you remember you told me I had a marriage ministry? And she texted me back. She said, yeah, and you told me I was wrong. I said, well, I'll call you later. Because this is what the Lord is saying. You don't have to be married to have a marriage ministry. Because when you stand in the gap for someone, that's unification. When you pray and something is split apart, and God uses you to bring two people together, to bring two things together, that's unification. You're carrying weight in the spirit. So you're able to stand in the gap, and those things that were separated, you're able to bring them together. And that is authority. That is power. That is authority. And that's influence that you have in the spirit. So whoever God is equipping, ask him about your area of influence, of power, and authority. Because many of you are an official army member, and you have an official office with kingdom authority. And it brought me to a memory where so many times in a church that I was at, we sung a song that says, I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. And we used to always sing this song. And I said, so Lord, if there's so many soldiers, why is the guard changing? Like what's going on? And this is one of the things the Lord gave me. In 1 Samuel, it talks about Ichabod. Ichabod was the son of Phinehas and the grandson of Eli, the priest. Now, Phinehas and Hophni, if I'm pronouncing that right, died in battle, and the Ark of the Covenant was taken away from Israel. It was because of their disobedience and their defilement of God's temple. In 1 Samuel 2:12, this is the NLT version, it says, now the sons of Eli were scoundrels who had no respect for the Lord. Now the Lord, in the Bible, saying they were scoundrels. It had no respect for the Lord. Also in 1 Samuel 2:17, this is the NLT version, it says, so the sins of these young men were very serious in the Lord's sight, for they treated the Lord offering with contempt. And that word contempt stood out. And I look for the definition of contempt. It's the feeling that a person or thing is beneath consideration, worthless. So I said, Lord, they were treating the things in your house with contempt. So if they were treating the things in your house with contempt, that means that they were treating your people with contempt also. So the things of God meant nothing to them. And they wanted to do things their own way. And in 1 Samuel 4:19 through 22, this is the KJV version. It says, And his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was with child, near to be delivered. And when she heard the tidings that the ark of God was taken, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the woman that stood by her said unto her, Fear not, for thou hast borne a son. But she answered not, neither did she regard it. And she named the child Ichabod, saying, The glory is departed from Israel, because the ark of God was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband. And she said, The glory is departed from Israel, for the ark of God is taken. Now, when they said she, or they said Phinehas' wife, they didn't even give her a name. Not only did her husband die, Phinehas, not only did Phinehas' brother die, not only did Eli, her father-in-law, died, but she died and left a child. And then she named the child in her pain Ichabod, because she was concerned about the glory. She was concerned about the glory more than her husband and his brother. Now, while I was driving, I thought about the changing of the guard. I was like, God, what is this about? I've been hearing those words, but what is it about? And this is what the Lord gave me, because it is the changing of the guard. This is what he said. He said, the authority has been transferred from the house of Ichabod, where the glory has departed. It has been transferred from them to the remnant and the sons of God. Now, the sons of God is neither male or female, so that includes both. He said the glory is coming back to the house of God, his temple. We are his temple. We are supposed to be his temple. Now, this is to bring back the awe and wonder of God, the reverence of God, to uproot and come against the things that opposes God's will. There will be an authentic difference of God's hand in his remnant and his end time army. They will have the heart of God. Now, I was going over this dream with my prayer partner. I wasn't in the military, but she was in the military. And when I was telling her about this dream, she said it brought back a memory. And she started telling me about, she was a part of a ceremony before with the changing of the guard when it happened in the military. So this is what she told me about the changing of the guard in the military. She was in the army. She said when they had a changing of the guard, she said it was a change of assignment from one regime to another, from one governmental group to another. She said it was exchange of power from one command to another, where key roles have changed in leadership. They pay respect to the outgoing leadership, and they give like a last stand of attention. Then new leadership comes in to give a new command. And when she said that, it brought back a dream that I had over a year ago. It's on my YouTube channel, but I had this dream over a year ago. It was called Cops Arresting Cops. And in that dream, I was walking to my family's house. And when I was in the living room with my family, someone in my family said, there's cops outside. And I wondered to myself, why are there cops outside? Because we're not doing anything. We're just in the living room living. And the cops were looking through the window and they couldn't see. And they said, well, we know they're in there, because they couldn't tell who you were spiritually. So even though you were in the present place, you were in the living room living for God, the cops outside who are religious, they didn't have sight to see who you are. So when they bust in the house, they was like, freeze, we're the cops. And in that dream, I said, but we're the cops too. And they said, no, you're not. They said, we're taking you down to the station. And they arrested us because, see, they had the power, the authority, and the influence to arrest us, even though we were cops. So they arrested us and they took us down to the station. And why me and my family, who's a part of the body of Christ, we're like, why are they arresting us? We're talking amongst each other saying, why are the cops arresting us? Because we're the cops too. But they had no discernment to know that we were the cops. So when we got down to the station, I seen a cop. Her name is Paulette. She was a real cop in Waking Life at this church that I used to attend. And she looked at me. She said, Tahra, why are you down here? And I said, I don't know. I said, the cops, they arrested me and my family, but we didn't do anything. And what she told me, she said, don't worry about it. Just sit there until this gets straightened out. And it was like the Lord saying, you just sit there because I'm going to show people who you really are. You just sit there and don't worry about it. Keep doing the work that I've told you to do. And I remember one of my relatives who was a female, the cop said, who are you? And we need to see ID. And I told someone, I said, you mean to tell me she got to tell the cop all her governmental agencies that she's with? I said, she's going to be there all day because the girl who was in the dream, she was with the FBI, the CIA. She had so many governmental accreditations that it was long. And like many of you, you guys have fought so many battles. You have won so many victories. You have so much governmental authority that people don't recognize you. But God said, just like he gave me last year in this dream, he said, they don't know you, but they're going to know you. They're going to know that I was with you all along. And it's just like many of you. They're going to know that God was walking with you all along. They got it twisted, but God was walking with you all along. They had no spiritual discernment because they only thought they had the governmental authority. They only thought that their position mattered. They only thought, okay, this person doesn't mean anything. Let me see what they got, because they had no spiritual sight. They had no spiritual insight. They only looked with their physical eyes. But God is going to reveal to people who you really are. And that was a dream that I had last year. And one of the key things she said about the changing of the guard ceremony, this is what she said. She said, no one knew who was going to be in the new position. That you would find out who the new position was going to go to at the end of the ceremony. So she said all the while through the ceremony, you never knew who was going to be put in this new position. You were only going to find out in the end. And God is setting you in position where he's going to show people who you really are. God is upgrading and he's removing. God is addressing those compromised leaders and those that have made a mockery of the church. And can I just say it like I feel it? People are going to stop playing in God's face. They've been playing in God's face. They've been playing church with their titles and their high positions, and they have no anointing. Nada. And that's why God is replacing those who have not been obedient. And in this season, people are going to be shocked who God is using, who God has anointed, and who God has blessed. People are going to be shocked. Now, those of you that he's called into his army, into his police force, and given new authority, Shift into your kingdom authority, because now you know who you are. Decree and declare and speak boldly, because you've been given kingdom authority, power, and influence. Now, I know this word was long, but God is speaking to his remnant. God is speaking to his sons and his daughter, because he's given you authority, power, and influence. If you don't know what that is, sit with God. Ask God where he has given you authority, power, and influence over. Ask him, and he'll tell you, because I asked him and he was showing me. So sit with God and ask him, and he'll tell you. So I wanted to deliver this exciting word for those of you who it is for. Welcome to your new kingdom assignment, and walk in it boldly. If God has called you to it, he has positioned you, he's given you the authority, so walk boldly into it and unashamed. People of God, stay blessed. This is Tahra-Lynn. Love you, and I'll talk to you again. Bye.